As we welcome our family of viewers on MSNBC, first off, to explain where we are at Bagram Airfield in Afghanistan. And, of course, the NBC News family going through the very painful knowledge, the painful first word of the loss of our friend and colleague Tim Russert. Tim was 58 years old. We first learned word this afternoon that something was wrong. Tim collapsed in the Washington Bureau, where he was bureau chief, also senior vice president of NBC News, and as needs no mention, longtime moderator of Meet the Press, the hugely successful and longest-running Sunday morning public affairs show in American television. Tim, as Tom Brokaw first mentioned, was a lot of things. First and foremost, of course, a beloved son of Buffalo, New York. Went back frequently. It is the home of his surviving father, Big Russ and Me, the title of Tim's first of two best-selling books. Again, at the age of 58, an unfathomable loss. Tim knew Washington as well as anyone alive, having worked for Daniel Patrick Moynihan and Andrew Cuomo, among others. He was attorney, a member of the bar in New York, and a member of the bar in Washington, D.C. Apologies are required. Apologies are required. We are in Afghanistan in preparation for tonight's broadcast of NBC Nightly News from Bagram Airfield. And when there's a launch of one jet here, it is usually immediately followed by the launch of a second. We, of course, have been here for much of this week reporting on the U.S. military effort here in Afghanistan. We're going to require a lot of help from family members for this coverage as we go on into the evening. All of us are suffering this same great loss, and for a lot of us, it's the first time we've spoken. And with that, as we have another launch here, to my colleague Andrea Mitchell in the NBC News Washington Bureau, a very sad place this afternoon. Andrea?
Well, the shock waves cannot be fully expressed. Tim was our friend, our leader, our cheerleader, our teacher, my mentor. Tim came to this bureau in 1988, 20 years ago, as the bureau chief. Even before that, he, of course, was a vice president of NBC News and was in charge of the Today program and a great contributor to shaping political coverage. He was a guide to all things political. I've always felt that Tim's involvement in Meet the Press, and I'll never forget his first time as an on-camera person, not just an executive on Meet the Press, but put on camera and asking questions and then becoming the host of Meet the Press 17 years ago. I've always felt that it was his background as someone who had gone to Jesuit schools, who had had the training from the sisters whom he so fondly talked of, who had taught him to ask questions, to ask the questions that average people would want to know, and also ask the questions that would stump the political figures, because it wasn't a gotcha moment. It was that Tim had a fabulous memory and would always ask what people needed to know about their political leaders. Tim's leadership in this bureau, Brian, you know it better than anyone, having taught us. Here's Tim on Meet the Press just very recently. Tim was the person who was really the historian of all things political here. He also, as a partner on debate questions, was the host and moderator of many debates, singly and together with you, Brian Williams. He had huge impact on so many political campaigns. The political campaign of Hillary Clinton in 2000, running for office. It was the Buffalo debate, hosted by hometown boy Tim Russert, that put Rick Lazio on the spot and memorably had Hillary Clinton proving herself in that debate and then going on to victory as the senator from New York. Brian, there are so many things that we can say about Tim Russert today. But the other thing that we need to say is Tim Russert as a teacher and as a friend. Tim has been a friend, a father figure to many, an older brother to some, who has carried this Bureau through 9/11, through the attacks on the Pentagon, through all of the tragedies and the triumphs of these years here in Washington. It is Tim who has taught all of us how to be journalists and better journalists. And as someone who has participated with him on the Today program as a friend and fellow political analyst in the early years when we were partners with Al Hunt, his closest and dearest friend, Al Hunt of Bloomberg News, and the extended family. And when I think of all of us here as journalists and as people, we are all so much the better for being friends and students of Tim Russert, the preeminent journalist of our time in any measure, who knew how to make the adjustment as we went into cable and on the internet and expanded all of our horizons in an instantaneous way.